Today's recipe is pasta salad with fresh basil pesto. Make sure that you watch the recipe entirely in order to get the best results. For this recipe we're using Orzo pasta. This is a rice-shaped form of pasta that works great for this recipe because being small, it gets really well mixed with the rest of the ingredients, and that's why I'm using it, but you can definitely go with other shaped varieties in terms of pasta if you want to. And I've got here a pan with water. I'm going in with about a teaspoon of salt, and as soon as the water starts boiling, we're going in with about 200 grams of Orzo pasta, and we're gonna cook this for about 9 minutes or until it's cooked al dente. Now while the water is boiling and the pasta is cooking and everything, we're gonna move on to prepare the basil pesto. Now we've done basil pesto on this channel quite a few times, probably every single time slightly different recipe. It's just the nature of this channel, never really following recipes entirely. So I've got here 100 grams of basil. We're gonna use only the leaves because you're gonna get so much better results. I suggest using a pestle and mortar. I know it's probably extra work, it's a lot easier getting it into the blender, but according to many studies, and I do feel the difference to be fair, you know, when you get the leaves bruised and you know, kind of like squashed, you kind of extract some of that flavor into your pesto instead of getting it into the blender where they get chopped up. You're probably not going to be able to fill up the whole thing right from the beginning, but as you go, you can add more leaves gradually. Salt, I'm using about 1/4 teaspoon. Freshly grounded black pepper. I like to add the seasoning right from the beginning. And I've got here a clove of garlic. This should be more than enough, especially because raw garlic is quite strong. More leaves in, since we made a bit of a space now. Now, as far as I'm aware, the traditional way of making pesto has pine nuts in it. I've got here about 1.5 tablespoons of pine nuts. Make sure that you don't go with them in raw. I would suggest toast them in a pan for like a few minutes, and then you're gonna get so much better results. And also I suggest don't add them in right from the beginning because you're gonna turn them into some sort of paste. In my opinion, you should have a bit of texture in there, so they should be like crushed pine nuts, not pure pine nuts, if that makes sense. I also wanna add in some parmesan, olive oil, about 100 milliliters, and lemon juice, a good squeeze of this. Now mix everything together. Okay, so basil pesto ready, let's move on to the rest of the ingredients. When the Orzo pasta is ready, remove it from the heat and get it straight under cold water. This will prevent the pasta from sticking together. Also, it will stop the cooking. Now to the cooked Orzo, we're gonna go with the following ingredients. We're gonna start with the cherry tomatoes. I've got here about 15 of them and we're gonna cut them into quarters. And I've got here about 50 grams of olives. We're gonna prep them exactly in the same way. Olives in. Now let's get in about 1/4 of red onion. Feta, we're using about 100 grams and we are cutting it into small cubes. Pesto goes in, but I'm not gonna use the whole thing. Half should be enough. The rest of it can go in the freezer. It can preserve in there quite well. And to this salad, we're not gonna add any more salt because there is quite a bit of salt in the feta, but I do wanna add about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil together with a good pinch of freshly grounded black pepper. Try to don't over mix it because you're gonna break all these ingredients in there, especially the feta is gonna crumble into 1,000 of pieces. So use 2 spoons like this and then just mix everything together. And this is your pasta salad with fresh basil pesto. And if you enjoyed this recipe, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more simple recipes like this because we're posting every single week, and I will see you in the next one.